o'clock, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively one step closer to the holidays, maybe one step closer to playoff football, and certainly one step closer to my 31st anniversary, which is Tuesday this week. We're waiting till Thursday to celebrate. We're going to be at Costas in Dundalk. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I got two different kinds of scratch-offs. I got some Raven scratch-offs. I got some, what are these? The holiday cash drop. Ross just gave this to me Friday. I haven't given any of these out. We were at Fadley's on Friday with Dan Rodricks. Had a great day. My old editor from The Sun, David Etling, came by, as well as Roz Lane from the Lottery and Damie Hahn. We're shipping crab cakes all over the world from all of our sponsors. We'll be talking more about that at Costas on Thursday as well with Gina Shock, the legend, Dundalk, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer from the Go-Go's, and a lot of rock stars coming by on Thursday, including the staff that made the Hammerjacks documentary. So we'll be rocking and rolling and whatnot, like they said in Greece. And I certainly was rocking and rolling up to Pittsburgh, where I attended a Ravens game for the first time this year. I attended as a media member, and I sat in the press box, and I went in the locker room, and I did my job, and it felt good. Leonard Raskin does his job handling money, including my money, thoughts, the American dream. You can find him at raskinglobal.com. He is our insider for all things finance and money, and certainly you've been to Pittsburgh a handful of times, and
I
I'm
have.
guessing you've driven down that hill happy and you've driven down that hill sad, as I have done over 26 years now. I think 29 trips to Pittsburgh to see the Ravens play I think
Wow.
I've made in my life. It doesn't matter how you win. When you're in Breezewood and Ravens fans are seeing you in the bathroom and high-fiving you, like I was last night, then it was a successful endeavor. Leonard, how was your weekend? Did you enjoy the win?
My weekend was pretty fantastic. My week was pretty fantastic. The wife and I decided we needed a little vacay getaway. So enough of the cold. We jetted down to Antigua and did a little 5-day jaunt to Antigua and
See,
just got
Antigua's in a Jimmy Buffett song, so I know it's a good place. I've
there
never
you
been
go.
there, but
It was lovely. Service was fantastic. Food was good. Drink was good. Sun was bright. You can see here we got a spot of burn. We had much sunburn, and it's
that's not
already
good for you, Leonard. And all the
no, it's
money in the
not.
world, we need to keep skin
No,
cancer. We don't
no,
want that,
no. This is just the results of peeling. So yeah, I got the 30 on a little too late. Fell asleep for a couple hours before I got the 30 on the face, and it burned up. So good news is it's peeled. It's almost already
Now
gone.
you're going to be more responsible with my money than you are with your face in the sun. Is that what you're saying?
There you go. There you go. But so flew home Sunday on the big American jet, and the beauty was, and didn't know this, but the American jet I was able to watch Sunday NFL Ticket, and there were the Ravens on the Steelers on the broadcast. I got to watch the whole game on the way back through Miami, and it was lovely.
Well, that's
And
serendipity when you win. When
right.
you get the game
Oh,
on the
it's
way home and they
terrible.
lose, you're like,
Terrible.
I should have not even
Terrible.
bothered,
Shouldn't have
right?
even watched. But how about having three quarterbacks on Sunday playing for the Ravens? You got Tyler Huntley, then we had Brown, right? Brown, and then we had Trubisky. All three of them playing for the Ravens. It was wonderful to have
Well,
three quarterbacks on your team.
Trubisky's unbelievable. All I could think about was how frustrating it is to see a guy who has an arm, who has command,
So
who
good.
has the ability
So
to move
good.
around, like all of that. But in the end, he will break your heart. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
watching him play and I'm like, well, they're in trouble now. I mean, real quarterback against a third stringer, he's throwing the ball around. All right, he threw the first pick. I mean, all
It
right,
happens. It happens. It was
Roquan
a
made a
great
nice
it
play.
was a
Might have not
great catch. Great
and
catch.
and then the Patrick Queen was a pick that shouldn't have been a pick. I mean, that was just an
Yeah.
athletic play. And
Yep.
then there's just throwing the ball up for grabs, or as Luke said, a punt with your arm.
That's
On that one.
exactly right. That's exactly right. He just punted it down to the 1 yard line. So what's so bad about that? Except you should have scored. And unlike you being in the press box, I was watching on the television broadcast, and it's really funny. These don't remember who had the game, but they were saying Pittsburgh's driving, and they should score before the half. They get the ball coming out of the half. And the next time the Ravens offense takes the field, they're likely to be behind. Next play, interception. And then they come out at half, interception. I mean, how beautiful How beautiful is Mitch Trubisky to help the Ravens like
Well,
that? It was fantastic.
in writing in the post game, as I wrote in my column this, and you can go read that at BaltimorePositive.com as well. There are no style points in Pittsburgh. I mean, I have seen
Win
us
by
go up
one.
there and kick the snot out of them and
Yep.
fumble a ball late in the game and lose. I've
Yep.
seen us drop touchdown passes in the end zone and lose. I've seen us miss field goals there and lose. It is sad. It's weird.
The Christmas miserable unmiracle couldn't tackle a guy at the 1 yard line. Lose.
The amazing. Well, I was at that one too.
Yeah,
I was at all of them, which is the craziest
part,
right?
It.
So they all come with this 5-hour drive home of, even if I'm on a bus with fans, that we're all like
fabulous or miserable.
What happened? And as I went down to the locker room on a press pass that Mike Tomlin gave me, wondering whether they were going to try to throw me out of the locker room or not, which would have been against league rules, maybe even against the law. We're working on that. That I went and did my job, but the notion that they won. I mean, Leonard, I've been in that locker room. That stadium was built. We played the first couple of years, if you remember, in Three Rivers Stadium, right? That's Kadri caught that ball the Super Bowl year. That was in Three Rivers. Then we moved to Heinz Field. And everything sort of changed there, but I remember this vividly. The very first time I was in that locker room was – a second time, because we played a regular season game there too in 2001. It was Tony Saragusa's last game ever. The last game he ever played in the NFL. We lost a playoff game with Elvis Grbac in Pittsburgh. And that locker room to me is that visiting locker room. I've been at every year of my life since I was in my 20s.
Yep.
Right? So like, I've been every year I go up there. I've been in there on Christmas Eve. I've been in there on Christmas night. I've been in there in playoff games. I've been in there after a playoff win. There's only been one of those. But I've been in there when the AFC Championship we got crushed. So I've been in that room a lot, and I'll be honest with you. I don't remember it ever being a happy place. Even after a victory, even a playoff victory, it's like, we got to go play next week. Then we lose in New England. That was the crazy game where Belichick was confusing the officials back in 2014 and whatnot. That was a Flacco win.
Yep.
Flacco played his college ball in that stadium at one point, and Saragusa played in Pittsburgh. So there's all of this. You always go back to Pittsburgh. Every year we have to go there. Every year we see the towels. This year's new name, Acrisure, whatever that is.
Something crazy.
Look that one up. They took the ketchup and the mustard bottles and put them away.
Right.
But I was in that locker room, and the only locker room I've been in 3 years. So like once the plague came, Chad Steele, Kevin Byrne went away. Chad Steele's playing God, and like, I haven't been in a locker room in 3 years. So I go into that locker room, and the minute I walked in there, and I left a little early. I saw Harbaugh's press conference. I was watching Roquan Smith, and I left. I went in to get other sound, talk to other players. So I wound up talking to Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum. It looks like he's 12 years old. Looks like he's never shaved. So I'm in this locker room, and all I'm seeing is the ghost of Saragusa in the corner with his career ending. Yep. I know what locker Joe Flacco was at for 12 years or whatever. And I'm in there and I'm seeing all this new cat. First off, I don't know any of these guys.
Right.
Justin Tucker, John Harbaugh, Andy Tucker, the doctor, Leanne Curl. I know the doctors. I know some faces. Calais Campbell, I went up and introduced myself. He said, I know you, man. I did your show at the Super Bowl back when I was in Arizona. You remember me from 10 years ago. So
right.
And Calais is giant.
He's
when
huge.
I'm in there, Leonard, they were banging Puerto Rican music. They were playing this soca song, and everybody in the locker room, naked, unnaked, towels, shoulder pads, all dancing this crazy Puerto Rican thing. Harbaugh came in and started doing this crazy dance, and I'm standing in the locker room, and I'm like, I've never seen that locker room look. I've never seen that room have energy.
Exercise out some demons. The young bucks entered exercising some demons up there.
Well, Justin Tucker gave them the daddy speech before the game, and he told them, he said, "You're not really a Raven until you beat the Steelers and win in Pittsburgh."
That's right.
So guys like Patrick Queen that have been there, who I've never met before. Yesterday, I didn't even really meet him. I just podiumed.
Yeah.
But that he these guys have this association with Pittsburgh that, quite frankly, Goose had. That whole era of those Ravens, remember, they never won in Pittsburgh.
Right.
96, 97, 98, 90. Rob Burnett, I remember Rob Burnett had lost, like, I swear, 8 or 9 times in a row in Pittsburgh. And I remember being in the locker room with him after the Kadri game, and he said, you have no idea how many times I've been in here losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers as a Cleveland Brown and then a Raven. So beating the Steelers feels the same way for these kids as it probably does for you and I 30 years into this.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story. my couple Pittsburgh experiences. So this goes back a ways. You'll remember. Martin O'Malley was, I think, governor at the time. So I think Martin was the governor. We were up there playing in the playoffs. And ex-business partner and I were invited to come up to Pittsburgh by a friend, colleague, who said, come on up. Let's go to the game. It's playoffs. You'll have a ball. Win or lose, it'll be fun. Come on, let's go. So get on U.S. Air, fly up to Pittsburgh. He picks us up at the airport. We drive to a bar. Now, I'm all purpled up, camo, Ray Lewis jersey, winter coat purple, spray my hair purple. And we get up there, and he takes us to the massive Steelers bar where
every bar there is a Steelers.
No, but
bar.
I mean massive and like this is like the Fells Point of whatever. It was insane.
You must have been in Gonzi's down on the strip.
Could have been. All I know is we got on a school bus to ride over to the stadium. So we get to the stadium, and they make my partner and I, my business partner and I, jump out the back of the school bus like it's a fire drill. They won't let us go out the front door. So we jump off the bus. We're walking into the stadium. People are throwing full beers, like closed beers, trying to hit us in the head.
It's not really like that anymore.
Well, like, that's good. So then
it's really not.
Wait, you got to hear this story. You got to hear this story.
You know.
So we walk up. Now remember, this is pre 9/11. This is going back a ways. So
so that was the Goose game. That was the Elvis
so that
Grbac
must have
game.
been. Must have been. So we go to this game, and we're walking into the stadium, and people are throwing stuff at us. I'm like, dude, really bad way to waste a beer. What are you wasting a beer on me trying to hit me for? Just drink your beer. Anyway, we get to the front of the line, and I say to the guy, so where's my ticket? This goes back. I think the statute of limitations is over. And he goes, we don't have any tickets. Like, we don't have tickets. He goes, dude, I haven't paid for a ticket for a Pittsburgh sporting event in 30 years. This guy's in his 50s. I'm like, what? He goes, Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, nothing. Okay. So we're walking around the stadium. We get to this one area where you walk in, obviously pre-electronic tickets, way back, paper tickets. He walks up to this guy, Gus. Gus, I got 6. Gus says, come on in. We walk right in. I'm thinking I'm going to Pittsburgh jail in a Ray Lewis jersey. We walk right in. Gus lets 6 of us.
I considered the Pittsburgh jail on Sunday. I thought if they don't let me in the locker room after driving up here for the working media pass, I might be going to jail.
There you go. So we get into the stadium.
I told Luke, you might want the key. And Luke's like, don't joke with me about that. I'm like, dude, if they tell me I can't do my job, I'm going to go.
Could be trouble.
I told Tomlin, I text Tomlin Saturday night. I said, if you see me in your press conference, it means I got thrown out of their press conference.
Yeah.
And because I've never attended this is true. I've never attended a Mike Tomlin or any visiting
other coach. Right.
In 27 years of covering football, I have never gone in the visiting. To this day, and this is a God's honest truth, I have never met Bill Cowher, talked to Bill Cowher, been in a room with Bill Cowher. I don't know Bill Cowher at all. And Mike Tomlin and I are like famously friends for 2 decades for some reason.
Right.
But I don't ever do the visiting press conference. So I went into the Ravens press conference because I had a pass to do so.
Right.
Mike Tomlin is the only reason I was at the game Sunday. Literally, Mike Tomlin said,
beautiful.
We're not going to lock you. You're going to get into our stadium. He texted me 10 days ago. He's like, you're coming to Pittsburgh and you're coming to the game and you're doing your job.
There you go.
Because the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't like that. We're better than that.
Right.
And I actually talked to a bunch of the Steelers reporters, and a couple of them said to me, and this is a guy that's been 20 years covering the team. He said to me, I have never in my life written anything that anybody in the Pittsburgh Steelers ever came to me and told me, you can't write that, or you can't say that, or you can't do. They said in 20 years,
Yep.
no one has ever from the organization, even when I write things they don't like, they've
Right.
never come to me and said, retract that, rescind that, change that, ever. So it is an interesting mindset as to the seriousness of that. But I
Oh
went into
yeah.
to the press conference, and here's Harbaugh, who is, if not solely responsible, completely responsible for me not being in there. And his disingenuous, he said to me,
Good to
welcome,
see you.
welcome. And I just laughed in his face. I'm like,
Right. Welcome. How about you
I'm
welcome
here
me when
because the other
we're
coach has more integrity than anybody in your organization.
right? How about welcome
Literally.
when we're home, you fool?
Yeah. I mean, so nonetheless, I did my job. Here's the interesting part. And this has nothing to do with money or football. This is sort of the human dynamic of tribalism, right?
Yep. Yep.
I got there at 10:30 in the morning, right? I walked past 15 to 20 Ravens employees. People
That know
maybe in a
you.
suit.
Right. Sure.
They know me. They know my
Right.
wife. They
Yeah,
know
of
everything
course.
about me. They have been friendly to me every moment of my life, my
Yep.
whole life.
Yep.
How's your wife? Good to see you. How you doing? I read your column. I listened to something you said. You were right about this. You're wrong about that. Whatever. None of them would even. I swear to God, I'm going to write about this week in my column. Leonard, they wouldn't look at me.
It's crazy.
They not only would they not say hello to me, none of them looked at me. The only Raven employee that looked at me was John Harbaugh.
Because you were
And
in the
he was
press conference and
shocked.
he had to.
He opened the door and saw me sitting in the front seat, and he kind of took
Right.
back,
Right.
and he said, welcome to me. And then he
Yeah.
began and I said, yeah, welcome. I
Did you
got
get a
your welcome.
question? Did you get a question?
I didn't have anything. I mean, people are going to ask me that, and I'm like, there were 6 or 7 questions. I mean, the biggest question after the game, the biggest football question
Who's your
amongst the media,
quarterback?
correct. And more than that, the short week, because
Yep.
Cleveland we played Saturday,
Yeah, Saturday.
there is a tremendous question as to whether Tyler Huntley can possibly play Saturday because of protocol. So
Right.
they may be playing with a third string or a Gimpy Lamar. I don't think they're going to put a Gimpy Lamar out this
No,
week.
that would be
But the
crazy.
biggest question in the post game wasn't anything about Harbaugh laying love to the players and this is the greatest drive in the history. And keep in mind, when Harbaugh does a press conference and players are in the room, it's a patronization. It's completely about, oh, these guys here. And I've
Right.
watched this for
Right.
15
Sure.
years, right?
Sure.
So if you do a press conference where it's just John and the media, John will talk in third person about things. The
Yeah.
minute Roquan Smith and Anthony Brown and Calais Campbell and Patrick Queen, was it Queen? I think whoever it was, they were all sitting in the
Yeah.
press room waiting
Yeah.
for their turn. At
Right.
that point, you get nothing out of John other than, oh, these guys, I love these guys. You don't really get questions in. And
Right.
John's in a hurry to get off the podium because the planes are lined up. There's 3 guys
Yeah.
sitting here sweating.
Yep.
So I asked questions in the locker room. So,
Yeah.
I talked to Mark Andrews. I talked to Tyler Lindenbaum. I asked Marlon Humphrey. I mean, so there's a picture of me and Ronnie Stanley going at it
How about
that I will
how
put
about
on my column.
J.K. Dobbins? A little OH action.
That's your
Dude looked
guy.
dude looked good. Well,
He a
just because
Buckeye,
he's a
right?
Buckeye. Yeah, he just came out of a Buckeye. So he looked good. I was troubled they didn't give him the ball more, but I guess they're still nursing him back. But my goodness, he and Gus 1-2 looked like a good set of running backs. And it's the one thing that gives me hope, regardless of who the quarterback is right now. That going into Cleveland, he's healthy, Gus is healthy, Andrews is healthy, Ronnie Stanley's healthy, that even Brown can hand off and they can run the ball 200 yards. I mean,
There
why
is
not?
such a better team with Ronnie Stanley playing.
Oh,
I mean,
Ronnie Stanley and I dare say Dobbins. I mean, he knows the line, he knows what to do. Even though he didn't play a year, he got to watch. He knows the team. He's not a bring in from outside guy who can hopefully find the hole. He's the guy that knows when they call play X, I think, where the hole's supposed to be.
Well, he hit
And
the hole running, and then he got caught. And he talked about that afterward, that he's not
he was
really
upset.
right. He looked almost limping when he got into a stride. Really.
Yeah, and yet 40 yards later, it's all good. And then he looked good in the power in the fourth quarter when they needed the power. He and Gus weren't going to let them lose that game, and they just ran the ball. They ran over Pittsburgh. Now, I can tell you, in my years as I don't think I remember, and you know better than me because you know these stats, man. You memorize these things. I don't know how you keep all this in your head, but I don't remember them running 200 yards over Pittsburgh's line like that and just moving people off the ball. They played with will on Sunday. They played hard, and the running game had to be there because, let's face it, the pass game was not going to be there.
And 99-yard drive after Renegade with a third-string quarterback that had never been on the field in the league.
Right.
I mean,
in Pittsburgh,
you can't do anything but tip your. I didn't have any tough questions for John Harbaugh after that.
Yeah, they weren't
literally. It was a great win.
They weren't doing that at home with a big cheering crowd. They were doing that in Pittsburgh, as you said, where we don't win much. I mean, the result, like I said, that game that I went to. We walked right into the club level, and I had seats for the playoff game. You'll like this. I sat next to Mike Tomczak's wife. She was in her full-length fur coat. It was the players section, 50-yard line club seats. That's where I watched the game. Watched us lose. It was tragic. They were all nice to me. And then we went back to the Steelers bar after the game, and the guy who does the radio up there, the radio announcer, ultimately showed up at the bar. We had a nice chat with him, had dinner together, and then flew home. And that was not a happy day. And I was up there for the last playoff game, I guess it was, when we beat them a couple years back.
14. Yep.
Maybe. Yeah. And that was pretty outstanding. I was up there with the wife and the boy for that game. And right in the middle of a Steelers section of fans, of course, that were just crazy screaming. I mean, guys that were like 6'10 and 6'11 and 6'9 in front of us screaming and going crazy. And then somewhere in the late third, early fourth quarter, I guess they got up and left. And of course, the boy was a youngster, and he's screaming at these guys that are 6'10, too much purple for you. And I'm saying, dude, shut up. Your father does not want to get pummeled by 6'10" angry, drunk Pittsburgh fans.
But at least you didn't have purple hair that day, right? That was
no, I didn't have purple hair. Didn't have purple hair.
Leonard Raskin is here. He has had purple hair on more than one occasion and loves to tell his old tales of sneaking into the Super Bowl down in Tampa back in the day as well. He handles money. He handles the American dream. You can follow him at Raskin Global. All right, end of the year here, money-wise.
Yes.
I'm always asking you this because, and this is a great example, and I'll give you this. Let's pretend that you handle my money in the real world and we're not on the radio right now. I literally heard your voice last week on the show about end of year and whether money's going to go in 22 or 23. Yep. Literally, I had a big client here. I don't want to say which one.
Yeah, sure.
But one of my newer, bigger clients paid an annual. They wrote a big check.
In advance.
Instead of paying every month, they paid with a big thing with zeros at the end.
Yeah, because they can deduct it.
Literally, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to sit on that check for another 19, 21 days, put that in January 1st? Or I want to
That's right.
And so at least you have me thinking that way. Now, of course, on my side, it's probably a good idea to put it in the bank this year and get everything right, and there'll be more money next year and all that. I'm not in Steve Bisciotti's. I'm not hanging out with him in the Bahamas where I don't have to worry about such things. But there is a point here this year where decisions are, if you make them on December 12th, you're not up against the clock on December 30th or 31st saying, oh, my God, I should get my IRA or I should get what I need to get done. Give me a little brush my teeth here for me for the couple of
well, that's a great point, what you just mentioned. Businesses that have high income and want to find deductions for year end, by law, the law says that you are able to pay your future year up to 13 months. So you can pay a future year of your rent. You can pay a future year of whatever expense you have coming up in 23. You are legally allowed to pay that in 22 and deduct it in 22 as a business expense. So a lot of companies looking to get stuff written off year end and reduce their taxable income want to pay bills in advance. And if you're in that position, you want to consult with your accountant, make sure it makes sense. You also want to consult with your vendor, with you. The idea is you don't want to surprise your IT company that you're going to pay them 13 months ahead. You don't want to surprise your landlord and say, here's the check for next year's rent, because they may be in a position where they're trying to decide to defer income into 23. So they don't want the check. So you got to have that conversation. And the best way to do that for both parties, if one doesn't want the check and one wants to write the check, as cash basis taxpayers, of course, is the writer of the check would write that check around the 28th, 9th, 30th. They drop it in the mail with a postmark, deductible. The receiver of the check would not get that check because of the USPS and the holidays until January the 2nd. Open that check, deposit it in the bank January 2nd, therefore taxable in 2023. Don't have to pay tax on it till April of 2024. So the idea is to consult with whoever you're going to pay and make sure they're aware, ready, and know what's coming so that it's not a surprise. You don't want to get a surprise check with zeros on the middle of December and have to figure out how to hold that check. It's just not a good thing. Bad stuff can happen. So the perfect scenario is write the check late, get it late, deposit it January, so on. Now, I will say this, and this is a mindset thing, not a tax thing. Personally, this is a Raskin Global mindset play. We advise clients wherever possible, take the income. There is never anything bad with cashing a check that pays you more money. So take the income. And I believe that it is an abundance mentality to be willing to say, I'm going to take that check, I'm going to deposit that check, I'm going to pay those taxes, because next year
I'm going to have a bigger
year.
Be
even bigger.
Right,
and
exactly.
So
that's
I
the
want
goal.
to,
right.
More is coming. And since more is coming and my mentality is of abundance, I'll pay the taxes this year on this year, and I'll worry about next year. And if it doesn't happen, okay, so this year we blew it, but I'm not going to play that game. I don't want to play scarcity like I got to hold that check so next year's books look good. Now, if there's some strategic reason for not taking that check, then yeah, I'll push it off. I want to recharacterize an IRA. I took money out of something. I want to make sure that I don't pay too much tax. I structured my income in a certain way for 22, then I may not want to take that check. The other thing is, as year end gets closer, we think, and we talked about this a couple times in the last probably 30 days, if you're going to give money to charity and you can itemize your deductions and you bunch your deductions, because today the standard deduction is so high that for a lot of people with either without or with low mortgages and the cap on the state and local tax deductions, charitable deductions aren't there. Charitable contributions, unless you're making a significant contribution, don't end up being itemized. So you just give the money to charity and so be it. But here's an interesting thought on charity for the same concept. Charities get flooded in December, right? Everybody's giving now for that tax thing. A lot of charities really would love to have that money in January or February, where they don't get a lot of money. And it'd be really cool to get that money in January or February, and you can make a bigger impact with the same gift to the same charity, giving it to them in January or February, than you can maybe in December. So, and they're scrambling in December. They're taking in gifts. They're doing everything. So a January, February gift to a charity, where if you pushed income to next year and you can itemize, that opportunity to gift in 23, January, February, may be more valuable to the charity and just as valuable to you just a year later. So you got to have good advice. You got to have good advisors. You got to have a team of professionals looking out for you in the areas of income tax and cash flow. And you got to make sure you're making the right moves. So yeah, the most important thing is to be thinking about it. The most important thing is to have your team available and make those decisions that make the most sense for you in this year and in the long run. So
Always sound
absolutely.
advice. I appreciate that. That was, I think that hits home for everybody out there. I think you covered all the bases for anybody that would be in the market to give some money or would be in the market at this point in the year to say, how much did I have this year? Is it a lot? Is it too much? What about
That's
next
right.
year? And I'm with you on the abundance thing. I'm always thinking next year is going to be better than last year, you know?
That's right. That's right. And that's how I live. It's how I run my business. It's how we advise our clients. We don't want you worried about, oh, well, I want to do something now because I'm not really sure that next year is going to be. And look, I have clients absolutely that tell me, oh, I don't know, man. The outlook isn't good. The economy, if you participate in the economy's bad, your economy is going to be bad. If we choose not to participate in recessions, we're not involved. We're helping people. We're helping them with their money, and we make more money, and we help more people, and that's what it's about. We help more charities. We help more causes. We do great things for people that have money and want help with their money. So, scarcity will cause you to do bad things, and it will cause your mindset to cause bad things to occur. I really believe that. So
Leonard Raskin is here. He's at
think good.
Raskin
Think
Global.
touchdown. Think 200 yards of rushing against the Browns, and we win.
Think 99 yards after Renegades played in Pittsburgh, right?
There you go.
There
That's
you
it.
go. All right,
That's
man.
it.
Have a great week. I will check in with you. I know it's going to be a great holiday here. Get some sunblock or something. Get
Yeah, yeah. I
some.
got some aloe. Some aloe. I got aloe.
That's a good plan. That's a healing
That's it.
plan.
That's what
Leonard
it's all
Raskin is
about.
here to help you heal your financial situation. He believes in the American dream and gives great advice, and you can find him at raskinglobal.com as well as at the front of the website. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by the Maryland Lottery. I'm going to be giving away, these are new scratch-offs. This is a holiday cash drop. I'm going to have these, Roz gave these to me on Friday down at Fadley's. We're going to be at Costas on Thursday celebrating 31 years of me being a loudmouth on the radio. Tuesday is my 31st anniversary with Kenny Albert. It was December 13th, 1991 that we walked into WITH on 5 Light Street. And here we are. And on Thursday, we're going to be celebrating with Gina Shock from the Go-Go's, as well as John Allen, the Hammerjacks crew, Beyond Words crew, and Milkshake. A whole bunch of really cool old music stories from my checkered, almost famous Ness past back in the 1980s. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.